What is up, everyone? I'm IAnthonyD. It's good to see your beautiful faces and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking Texas Chain Saw Massacre. It's been a while since we've had one of these videos to go over because I feel like personally it's been a while since we've had a steady line of communication about the game, and we'll talk about the fixes that are coming to the game in this video, as well as just a little bit about the current state of TCM towards the later end of this video. But first, if you're new here, the Emotes Times, the 15 edition, is always broken down into three categories. We have the fits in testing, the under investigation, and needs more info. And that's what we'll be talking about today. So before we get into that, if you haven't already, make sure to slash that like button and subscribe with notifications set to all. It is spooky season, the month of October. If you haven't seen what I put on the community post, I have challenged myself and you for 31 days, 31 videos we have been daily uploading. You guys got to show up and I got to show up, and we got to make this happen. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe and notifications set to all so you don't miss out on these videos. We're doing gameplays from indie games, to asymmetrical games, updates and discussion videos like this one. So I want you to be a part of it, and I need you to be a part of it. So make sure you're subscribed. Listen, let's talk about these changes that are coming to TCM. The first one we have is the grapple rework. Now, this is something, if you've been around TCM for a while, this is something that's been talked about nonstop, is the grappling favoring the victims, the family, blah, 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 all that stuff. Now, there's always been two lines of thought. If the grappling system should be something that's more of a last resort for victims, or if it should be something that's teetered a little bit towards aggressive gameplay. Now, personally, I've always laid it on the side of it should be a last resort for victims. Something where you have no other option. You have to take this very risk to get away. With it being an actual risk, it doesn't always work out in your favor. Now, there are some people out there who believe this should be tailored a little bit more towards an aggressive gameplay style used for distractions and even fighting back against the family. I just never really loved the idea of you jumping in and just immediately going for bone straps so that you could run upstairs and chase down the killers. It doesn't really make sense to me in this game for TCM. Ideally here, you're supposed to be injured and desperately trying to escape this crazy family. So using it as a last resort always made sense to me. But I can see both sides of it, and we'll have to see where gun lands on this. They do say that there will be a hub post when this grappling rework happens, so hopefully that's pretty soon. Next on the list, we have Xbox Series X and S crashes. So this is pretty good for the Xbox player base. Obviously, that's something you want to take care of. We have the cook highlighting dead bodies. Now, this is, I feel like this has already been on the list before, but it's not something that I've encountered. Obviously, it's a good thing to get out of there. We have door interactions. Now, this is something that I have personally experienced, and it just completely pisses me off, especially in Rush Week, when the door is sometimes like the only thing you have to get away from Johnny, who can just destroy your life in 2 hits. So, and now I know this, they did say that this is for the main game mode and Rush Week. Doors have just been wonky in general. It just kind of seems like they only want to open if you slam them open rather than just opening them normally. So getting that fixed is top priority for me, bro. I'm done getting cheated out of life with these doors not wanting to work and Johnny killing me. Speaking of Rush Week, the next on this list, we do have Rush Week audio. Obviously, that really dope intro they have that they created for Johnny, it's just been underwhelming because there's no audio. It's just awkward. And Rush Week in general, now it does just say Rush Week audio. Hopefully this means more than just the intro. One of the best things about this game is that the audio is so immersive, and in Rush Week it's just missing, and it's just very false flat sometimes. So hopefully that's something that they're talking about the entire mode and not just the intro. But that's what our fits in testing is. For our under investigation, we have the camera being stuck in Johnny on Rush Week. Again, not something that I've personally ran into, so if you have run into it, don't be too upset. It's on the list. We have the execution pack with the FPS and aspect ratio being messed up. I have seen this. I thought I was going crazy when the aspect ratio just changed mid cinematic, so that's being changed. That's on the list. That's good to see. We have the damage from hitchhiker traps in front of the window being looked at. This is something that's been in the game for a long time, I feel like. And that is when a hitchhiker puts a trap inside the house in front of the window rather than outside the window, outside the house. When victims were running, they would hit the trap, but then also trigger the window. So like they would not only take double damage, but they'd land outside of the house in the animation for the actual trap. So the family would be able to run out, and you already took double damage, so you're easy pickings at that point. So now, ideally, what they said in the Reddit is that you're going to hit the trap and stop. You shouldn't also go through the window. If you hit the trap and then get out and want to jump through the window, That's up to you. If you want to be crazy, that's your life. And last on the list, we have sneak attack inconsistencies. Now, this is obviously sneak attacks can be a little wonky sometimes. You're hiding in the corner, Bubba walks past you, you get enough courage to run up and stab him, the big man in his back. Doesn't want to click, the interaction doesn't work, he turns around, you know, and now you're chicken fingers. It's just how life works sometimes. And next on the list, we have needs more info. We have the generator and battery mini game. Not too sure exactly what issues they're talking about here. Maybe the mini games getting stuck on your screen, something like that I've seen before. And then last, we have the valve pressure tank audio issues. This is something that I've seen people talk about before. A family, just the sound not triggering, or victims to sound not triggering as well. You don't even know what's going on, if the gate's going to open or not. So that's on the list. Good to see. These are some pretty solid changes. It just feels like, and this is going back to like the current state of TCM, it just feels like there hasn't been much communication, especially with things like the content pass. We have a new victim, a new family member. We have a new map, I believe, is also coming with that. And there's just not a lot going on in terms of communication of what to expect, when to expect it, and things like that. So it is good to get the Moeto times. I'm happy to see that there's some changes, but I hope that we can get back in line of just more hype and communication happening between community and developers. I miss those streams, dude. Those streams were so cool. It was a really great way of keeping the community in the loop and keeping the community hyped. And I feel like that's something that's kind of just been missing a little bit in TCM for me. I'd love to know what you guys think down below. As always, that's what matters most to me. Let's talk about in the comments. Is there anything on this list that you care about? Or is there things on this list that should have been there that aren't there? Things like that. Any issues that you're running into? Let's talk about in the comments down below. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to slash that like button and subscribe with notifications set to all so you don't miss out on spooky season, dude. 31 videos. I'm grinding my heart out trying to make sure I don't miss an upload. It's a challenge I've always wanted to do, and I need you there. But most importantly, make sure to remember the rules to survive. Don't do drugs, don't have sex.
You gotta have